Wow, you guys, we're heading into the beginning of Easter. Starts next Sunday, and right now we have a tale of two housing markets. You have one part of the housing sector that's kind of getting a little bit of a hit, and then the other part of the housing sector that's kind of not doing so. Not getting hit at all, hitting the opposite direction. We're still seeing increases, especially if you live up north, like towards the East Coast. Y'all aren't seeing any reductions in prices. So that's why it's really difficult to gauge the housing market when you look at headlines. Because if you were lived on the East Coast and you're coming in from the West Coast, you're like, well, I mean, I just took, a $20,000 hit on my house. They should be doing that over there in the East Coast. And they're just laughing at you in New Jersey going, we're not dropping our price, buddy. We're not dropping it because they haven't seen a collapse in housing prices. But like over in California, they're seeing some housing prices come down. But I will still maintain this. It's going to be the more expensive type homes. And another thing, I know a lot of you are really going to feel really bad about this. Eddie, maybe you can find an article about it really quick because this just hit my brain. So there's a tax now on homes over $10 million in California. So it's like basically the mansion tax. And so all these like celebrities and everything are trying to dump their houses before they have to pay the mansion tax on their houses. They're even willing to like take 10 million down just to get it sold fast because they don't want to pay that mansion tax. I know that breaks the heart of many people in the comment section that rich people have to pay more money in taxes. But it kind of came out of left field. I mean, not that it's like they can afford it. I get it. Yeah, here it is. If the property sells for more than $10 million more, the tax goes up 5.5%. On a $10 million sale, the seller would have to pay the city $550,000 on top of their sales tax and other fees on selling the property. That's a hard-hitting thing. So maybe like I told you, those mansions, it doesn't even matter if it's California, those people that are in those high-end homes are going to see the biggest reduction in their prices because there's so many. There's a lot more supply of bigger houses than there are smaller houses. But then the problem is that the smaller houses have either stabilized or in some areas have even increased in price, which still is not addressing the biggest problem in the room, which is affordability. The interest rates are still high. The interest rates are still high and the home prices are still coming up and we still don't have enough supply of houses for affordable housing. And that's going to be the biggest issue. We need to get people on board for building these more affordable homes. That's the only way we're going to be able to stabilize the affordability sector of the housing market. So, Eddie, go ahead and put up the article, the first one about from Yahoo News, because that really does explain the tale of two housing markets. He's going to get on that in just two shakes of a lamb's tail here. All right, housing market correction is losing steam, where 7 revised forecast models are see housing U.S. home prices going from here. In the second half of last year, the U.S. housing market slipped into first place correction since the housing bust of 2012 through January. National home prices measured by the Case-Shiller have fallen 3% on the seasonally adjusted basis of 5.1% without seasonal adjustment since June of 2022 peak. Out west, the correction is particularly sharp as markets like Phoenix, Seattle saw home prices fall 10.4% to 16.3%, and respectively from their peak. It is in the eastern half of the country, the correction is more mild as some regional markets, including Cleveland, saw prices decline at less than 1% since the peak. But if you go in places in New Jersey, they're increasing. But the story has already changed as the housing market moves into the busier spring season as the correction is losing steam. Indeed, among the 200 largest housing markets tracked by Zillow Home Value Index, Only 38% of the major markets notched a month-over-month home price decline in February. At the height of the correction in September, of 79% of the markets fell over the month-to-month basis. And that's what I told you. I've been telling you this. The ones that had the highest increase we're going to see the steepest falls, but those, like regular housing markets, outside those major cities, weren't going to see anything. It was just going to go flat. And that's what's exactly what happened. Eddie, you scrolled up a little too low. Can you scroll up a little bit higher? All right. He wants me to go here. CoreLogic real estate research firm expects U.S. housing prices to be measured by the CoreLogic HPI to rise 3% between January 2023 to January 2024. If CoreLogic is right, then the U.S. housing prices will end 2023 back at the price levels achieved at the height of 2022. So we're talking about just basically remaining flat. A normal healthy market is 3%. If you get 3% increase in a year on your house, that's a normal healthy market. Economists at the housing listing site forecast that the U.S. home values, as measured by Zillow Home Index Value, will rise 1% in February, and from February 2023 to 2024. Zillow is giving us 300 markets. But I'm just going to say this, they're just predicting on the factors what they have in them right now. There's numerous things could happen between the time by the end of this year. I mean, what is the jobs numbers going to look like? What is, people's situations looking like as far as, their 401ks and everything else? There's going to be so many different factors that are going to, they'll all trickle down into the housing market. Even though they're saying it could be a 3% increase, they could be dead wrong, because I mean, and I've said this many times, they keep saying about the jobs market, oh, we just keep increasing. But you and I and everybody else that's hanging around the water cooler knows more and more people are losing their jobs. And it isn't just now in the tech sector. I'm hearing it everywhere. And then people that have lost their jobs they keep putting out applications, and they keep trying to get somebody to answer them. And for some reason, these corporations have these job postings that they never even attend of hiring in the first place. They just have them out there. They call them ghost listings. Well, I mean, what? It is the craziest time. Every time I feel like I peel a little bit of the banana, I'm like, I want to put the genie back in the bottle, because I keep finding out more and more stuff that it makes me realize that we're really messed up. The world is really, really messed up. And I want to peel back the banana and go, oh, wow, this is really great for our future. I'm so sick of living in unprecedented times, and especially with this housing market. I would much prefer a more fair and balanced housing market. I like when the first time home buyers drive the market and that they're able to negotiate for, that first home. It makes sense to me, right? And Birds and Flowers said, everybody deserves housing. Everybody. I don't know why this is such a sticking point for people. Everybody deserves a place to live. If you have a job and you can pay rent or pay for a dwelling, you should be able to find something in the area with the average income of that area. Many areas across the United States, the average income does not afford you housing in that area. That is a massive problem. And the fact that you bring it up immediately makes people have this visceral reaction, especially when you say affordable housing. They're like, what do you mean? Like Section 8? I'm like, well, Section 8 is going to have its place, but there's people that just want to find a house. They have good credit. They have a good income coming in. They've had great history of paying things on time. Why can't they find a place to live? Why is there no affordable places to live? And then they kept promising, and I'm still hoping for this, because they built so many. They've been the housing sector. The builders were churning away from building homes for a period of time when it was kind of uneasy last year. And they went into the multifamily homes, right? So they were building more apartment complexes, townhomes, condos and stuff. So I thought by this time, when people were renewing their leases, they wouldn't have to pay more than they had paid the year before. Well, I've been wrong about that. In some of even the major markets that have had price decreases of homes in their area, they're still getting record highs on the rent increases. And anytime somebody suggests that maybe we should cap it, through the state. Like, you can't raise it more than, like, let's just say 5% a year. I mean, people have a conniption fit. Like, you can't say that, blah, blah, blah. I'm a landlord and I'm totally fine with that idea, because I don't want to, like, increase the rent $500 the next year, knowing that people that live there now can't live there. Like, I don't know. That's just me. I was on a tangent. Sorry. MH8 in Colorado. In Colorado, they're passing a bill that requires within 14 days of the listing of your rental of 3 units or more, you must notify the state and give them 90 days to match an offer for you. First right of refusal. Well, that's interesting. Eddie's going to go ahead and pull it up. First right of refusal bill allows the state or local government agency to be competitive with for-profit developers in the purchase of multifamily properties in order to preserve or create an affordable housing in Colorado. We'll see if it passes. I mean, all these things look great on paper. It's not until a bunch of people sit down and actually vote on it. The bill gives the local governments, housing authorities the opportunity to match the sale to prevent affordable housing from being converted into market rate housing. It'd be great. You know what? I just got an email, what was a message from Will Friedner from Montana, and they have a bill proposed that will allow people that rent a lot space in a manufactured home park the ability to have the same kinds of rights as someone that that lives in an apartment complex. So, like, right now, the way it works in Montana is that if you have been late 7 days on your rent payment for your lot, they immediately can kick you out. The sheriffs are knocking on the door. You only have 7 days. Like, I've forgotten to pay bills. I've been 7 days over late, not even thinking about it. But they don't even care. They just kick you out because they're trying to get as many people to turn it over to charge more rent for that specific lot. Well, now they're giving them like the same. They're trying to give those people that live in those manufactured home parks the same rights as renters, as well as, not just the kicking out of the apartment of that or the lot. It's the same as is if you were wanting to increase the rent for that. So they're talking about rent caps too, like just for the same as it would be for apartment complex, it would be the same for the land that you rent in a mobile home park. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with that. I don't think it was a bad idea the way it was written. It wasn't like sneaky with loopholes, but the people on the opposite side say, "Oh, it's too tenant heavy." It only gives the tenants rights, not the landlords. I'm like, you got to be out of your mind. I don't know. It's only to protect all of these things that when you have a huge opposition, it's usually only to protect the big investment companies. And we got to stop doing that. Like, we cannot keep defending these big investment companies because they're not looking out for the average person. At some point, it's all going to be knocking on your back door and you're going to say, how did it get this far? And we got this far because we kept ignoring it. So Scoremore says jobs is crashing a lot, and the housing required us to have certain amount of cash flow, but the jobs are pulling out. Jobs is crashing a lot, and the housing required is to have certain amount of cash flow, but the jobs are pulling out. Huh? I'm not sure what that means. What you're saying is that in the area that the jobs are pulling out, but the housing isn't coming down. Is that what you're saying? All right. Killian one says, yes, every American should have a home, and it could be done. It can be done. But the thing is just like anything, you want to, the people that do it, they need to make a profit. There's no way that, there's nothing in life that is free. There's one thing I've learned when I was in economics in high school. The only time I ever got a 99 in a class was in economics. And that teacher said, there's no free lunch, right? Everything costs something, and someone needs to be paid for what they do. And then not just for the work, they have to make a profit. So you have to give entitlements to builders, to land developers to want to make those kinds of houses. In the meantime, they buy this land. They have to make as much money as they can on that little lot. So they build these huge houses because they can make more money on them. But if you give them land to develop at a below market rate, and then you give them buildings materials to build those smaller houses below market rate. The government can do that. They have all the ability to do all that anyway. I mean, if they can build a rocket, they can give building materials for people to find a house to live in. I mean, let's just be realistic. It can be done. It's been done before. It can be done again. Every time they say it's impossible, it's because they don't want to do it. It's easier to say it's impossible than even try. That's always their thing. They're like, well, we have a lot of bureaucracy. Well, you can work on that. Then work on the bureaucracy. Make sure that gets changed. There's some guys on TikTok that are building affordable housing communities in different areas in the United States, and they worked through it because they wanted to. And they've gotten, some subsidies from the government and the state government in order to get these houses built. They're not like Section 8 houses. They're just homes that are affordable for the average person that's living in that area, making the average income. Yeah. Excuse me, I had to take a little sippy sip of water. Shaka Zulu says the Airbnb is crashing. It's going to help bring down the housing market. All right. I've actually talked about this before. So here's the thing about Airbnb. If you look on their website, it will tell you that they only have throughout all the markets, I think it's less than 1 million homes throughout all the markets, right? So you would have to imagine that all of these houses are going to put their house back up for sale. Like nobody's going to rent their houses and they're all going to put them back up for sale. That's 1 million houses sprinkled across the entire United States, right? Sprinkled around everywhere, Not only that, a lot of those houses are vacation homes in vacation spots. So most likely, if they're vacation homes in vacation spots, somebody's going to go ahead and buy that second house. Not only on top of that, a lot of those homes that you see on Airbnb, you have yurts, you have tiny homes, you have hut homes. You have a bunch of those houses that aren't necessarily homes you would live year round in anyways. You got cabins, houseboats, all sorts of stuff. Today, there's over 4 million people around the globe welcoming travelers to their holiday. There will be a total of 900 million arrivals in, what is this, Eddie? Airbnb launched in 2008, an unstoppable alternative to old school hotels. Yeah, I mean, I just want to know how many are in the United States. As far as I know, in the United States, there's less than 1 million. I think there's only like 850,000 Airbnbs throughout the United States right now. The last time I looked up that number, because I was going to make a whole video about it. I was going to make a whole video about how this would affect the housing market, because I thought it was going to be a lot more houses than that. Then when I saw it was only like, it was less than 1 million. And I started thinking about it. They're spread out. They're in California, Austin, Texas, Atlanta, Orlando. I mean, unless there was like a big pocket of Airbnbs that are like in one specific area, it would affect that specific housing market, but it wouldn't affect the whole entire city, It's wishful thinking. It's wishful thinking. I don't think a collapse of the Airbnb market would make that much of a dent in the housing market. What would make a dent in the housing market is if interest rates, if they continue to go up. We saw this when it hit over 8%. Immediately people pulled back and they're like, we're not doing it. But the second it drops under 8%, then everybody's knocking on the door again. Like just a few, points in the interest rate, that all of a sudden people go crazy. And when it nearly hit, it was like 5.99 for one day. When it hit that number, people went crazy. They were running in and locking their rates. And this, right before Mardi Gras, they're like first-time home buyers are desperate to find a house, and they're still in that phase of trying to find a good, affordable home. They're trying to just not have to fight for it, but we're still in that part of it because there just isn't enough affordable housing around the United States, and that's everywhere. That isn't just in the South; it's everywhere. Jay Bryant said, "I've said before that I believe that the only way we will see a significant shift is if there are drastic economic situations. Someone has to lose to make the market fair." Yeah, just like the last time. I mean, we have to. I say it's going to be the jobs market. If the jobs market collapses or has a significant shift, that's what I believe is going to make the housing prices come down. Because in the meantime, there's a ton of people that got into the housing market before the big boom, right? And those people that got in it during the big boom, they have like 2.5% interest rates. They have no incentive to move at this point, right? Unless there is some significant job, that they have to move. Most likely, most people are going to hold on to that mortgage because, I mean, let's be honest, will we ever even see interest rates that low ever again? Probably not. So that's where, that's what I.
Super chat. Thank you.
Hey, Latasha, thank
Super
you
chat. Thank you.
for the $5 super chat.
Super chat.
that Eddie, I wish there was a way we could turn that sound effect down a little bit. That is loud. That nearly knocked me off my chair, man. Thank you so much, Latasha. I appreciate you. If you have a question, let me know. I didn't see the question underneath there. Were you just being nice? I appreciate that. Maybe a little Easter gift. A little Easter gift. Yeah, but I still maintain that the jobs market's what's going to kill it, because like I can't see what it would be. It would have to be somebody that is actually losing their house and they can't pay their mortgage. Would be the only reason they would give up that 2.5%. This is the first time in history, though, most Americans have a significant increase of equity in their house. Like, this is the most equity that we've ever seen in history is right now. So George Sylvia says Riverside County, California has seen an increase in home prices from January 2023 to February 2023. So there is some places in California that are still increasing. I believe that San Diego is seeing a decrease. I could be wrong about that. I'll have to check with my good friend Dan Paca. Dan Paca. He's not from New England. I just like saying it that way. Dan Paca. Let me take a sip of. Lawnmower wants everybody to know, and the people that only are listening on the podcast, that my cup size is a normal size. It's just that I'm extremely tiny. I have everybody laughs about my 24-ounce coffee cups. Yep. Clark the realtor says, Kristina, mods, and everybody, happy Sunday. Hello, Clark. Hello, Clark. Clark, we should get you on the stream. You're here every week. We should get you on here because I'd love to have a conversation with you. You're always here. You're putting in your input, saying hello to everybody. I appreciate you coming in. So here we go. Long Journey says, if the government gave them cheaper materials, they probably still charge more and get better profit. Well, there is a way, like I talk about. I don't know if you've ever seen my channel and what I talk about on my channel, but I talk about affordable housing options in different ways to build that wouldn't be the same as traditional home building. Back after the World War II, they were able to build neighborhoods where they were building 20 to 30 houses in a day. And how did you do that? How do you do that? Well, they found out a system, which was modular construction, where they built those houses modularly in a factory, and then they just slapped them right on top of the slab foundations. To this day, those homes still stand. We could do that again. And all the government would do is say, okay, manufactured home builders or modular home builders, here you go. This is how much we're willing to pay on every single house. And that's what they would do. Just cut them out. Just one right after another. Would they have the high end everything? Would you have granite countertop? Probably not. Would you have solid wood floors? Probably not. But for the most people that I've talked to, the majority of people that are just looking to get in that first house, they don't really care. They just want a house that they can call their own. They can paint the bedrooms and not have to ask a landlord. They want a little garden in the back so they can have a little dog. They want a place where they're not paying a landlord for it. And this, there's this new wave of advertising, and everybody loves to use the word narrative, but it's truly trying to push younger people to believe that you would never be able to afford a house. Plus, you really don't want the hassle. You don't want the hassle of a brand new house. Just go ahead and rent from us. And then when you decide that you want to, be traveling across the world, you can just move anywhere across the United States in one of our luxury homes. And you never have to worry about the hassle of owning a home because we handle everything. Yeah, they handle everything all right. And like my fear is that they're trying to turn our youngest people into a renter's nation. We need to educate them as older people, educate them that the best way for security and generational wealth is through real estate. That's why rich people buy real estate. Let's learn from the rich people. And so I have to keep reminding my kids that yes, it's going to be possible for you to buy a house. We might have to do some creative financing ways to get you there, but we'll get you there. And that's all they can do. I mean, I don't know how many people I saw during this last boom that's parents were willing to help them with a down payment. So they were able to get a house and they were able to get that low interest rate, So maybe that's what we have to do. If we can afford to, is help our kids with the down payment,
Super chat.
We got another super chat. Louise McDowell says, if moving in a different state, can you use housing assistance? You'd have to, I think you have to reapply to that state. Now that will depend on each state. So this is one of those crazy rules, right? So if you were verified in New York and they kicked you out of that building and they said, you can't live here anymore because we're going to be using this building for something else. Their law states that if you have been approved for the housing voucher, you can move anywhere else in the country and they have to pay for it. Right. So this lady, this is no joke. This lady was like, you know what? I've always wanted to retire in Hawaii. And so they had to accept the voucher in Hawaii. She was able to skip the line. She was able to retire in Hawaii. I mean, was that screwed up or what? I mean, they couldn't find her another house in New York, but they were willing to pay for her to have assisted housing in Hawaii. How dumb. It's so dumb. I mean, good honor. Good honor, but that was just one of those things that made me want to throw up. Because then because of that, all the people that were waiting for housing, and there's a huge homeless population in Hawaii, they were all bumped back because this lady moved from New York to move there. Crap. Total crap. Okay, yeah. So Eddie, this is from, so each state's going to have something different though, Eddie. So you're going to have to see what you get. You're going to have to check with your local housing authority and what their programs, what their laws, what their programs are. You got to have to check on that. Because like I said, New York had a really kooky one. She found the loophole, man. Latasha Kerr says, new loan program in California. Buyer gets 20% down for a down payment with the silent second. Buyer must pay back when refile or sale. Bad deal or a good go option? What do you think? It's going to depend on your financial situation. I heard about this last week. The silent second. I don't like anything that sounds sketchy. And I mean, I know that if the state of California is doing it, they did something similar here in Louisiana, and the requirement is that you had to. Pretty much the same thing. So if you plan on staying there and being able to pay down that with equity, that's fine. But if you're looking to move in the next few years, I would not do something like that. You will lose everything. You may have to come out of pocket, especially if the area might look like it's coming down in price. Just, weigh out all your options is what I'm getting at. Johnny, oh man.
Thank you.
Johnny O with another $100 super chat. Every week he supports the channel, and I appreciate him coming out here every week and giving us a little monetization support. I appreciate you, Johnny. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, Johnny, just go ahead and drop them in the chat, and I'll put them up on the screen for you. Johnny O, he's so good. He's so good. Oh, the other thing I was going to cover this week too, and maybe Eddie can pull this up. So, I don't know if you guys saw, throughout Arkansas, Iowa, they had devastating tornadoes that came through. I mean, annihilated areas in seconds. There's tons of videos out there from people, in their backyards and everything. One lady got sucked out of her office building and with her cell phone in her hand, sucked out and then wrapped around in the tornado. She's fine, by the way. But when you have or live in an area that is prone to tornadoes, and you live in a house where you have home insurance, even if you're a renter, if you rent, please get rental insurance so you can have your belongings replaced. And when you get that rental insurance, make sure you go around and start taking photographs of everything that's in your home. Everything that's in your home. And that goes for if you have home insurance as well. I want you to start taking pictures of the stuff that you have in your house because you're going to forget. And whenever you have damage to your house, especially that kind of damage, you don't remember all the stuff. And you're trying to replace it. And then sure enough, 2 years later, you're like, I didn't even think about that stuff. So I want you to start cataloging your stuff. So that way, when you go to make your insurance claims, that they replace everything that was missing of yours. You've paid for these premiums. They should pay you back. That is one of those things that people don't think about. The other thing I want you to think about is even if you don't live in a flood prone area, any area is prone to floods. Anything can happen at any time when it comes to water. And we see this wacky doodle weather going nuts everywhere. Like, 1 minute's dry and the next minute's flooding. 1 minute we haven't seen snow in 5 years and all of a sudden now we have 28 feet of snow. Like, just be prepared. Make sure that you have the right insurance policies for your specific area. A flood policy, if you're not in a flood prone area, is like $500 a year. It's like $500 of state of mind, peace of mind. Like, you just want to go ahead and get that. And, if anything happens, then that way you're at least covered for the, any kind of repairs and damages that happens to your house. I will say this, though. If you do get flood insurance, make sure you get the contents as well, because if your house does flood, most people don't realize most flood insurance policies only cover the structure, not the contents inside your home. And flood water can ruin everything. So you want to have that covered. Daunting recovery begins in South Midwest after tornadoes killed 29 people. I believe in Arkansas, like there was a good portion of those came from, I think 7 people died in Arkansas. That number could be wrong right now. It's devastating. I know how those people feel. Honestly, we had a tornado hit our house years ago. It was not even close to this. We were very fortunate, but it's still scary all the same. And when you walk out that door and it was that fast, right? You walked inside, you saw everything, and you walked outside. It literally looks like a bomb went off. And you can't believe it. And the smell of the wood, and then you can't walk anywhere because there's roofing shingles with nails everywhere. It is one of those times that it's in the news 1 week and then people forget about you the next week. So I don't know who you would donate to, but if you know any local real estate agents in Arkansas, find out who their local charity is. Because when you give to the national charities, all they do is they hold that money back for the next disaster. They're not necessarily the money that you put in today goes to the disaster that you put the money towards. When you donate to local charities, then you end up getting it to the money to the people that need to get it right there and then. So, even in Iowa, I just wanted you guys to be aware of that. Anyways, my whole point of this was for you to realize to please check your insurance policies. Check to see if you have enough coverage for your contents inside. Make sure you have the right kind of fire insurance. Make sure that you have flood insurance. If you live in a snow prone area, make sure you have enough snow coverage. Everything you possibly think of, go talk to your insurance agent and see what you need to either up your insurance policy, or you can even negotiate some, maybe you can even negotiate some of your policy down. You never know. Some of us don't even look at our policies. We just pay the premium every year and we're like, okay, whatever. But you want to check those things out every once in a while, because you'd be surprised. You don't realize what you're not covered in until you need it. And you're like, well, I thought the insurance covered that. Stinks. Totally stinks. If y'all have any questions, please put them in the chat and I'll answer them as they pop up on the screen. Roman says, question, excuse the non-US question. Okay, no problem. Thinking about property in Kiev, Ukraine, what are the dynamics of the war on the housing market? Are there some books and resources on this? Happy Sunday. I would literally be talking out of my pie hole, like just totally lying if I told you what I knew about European housing market. I just don't know. I really have No earthly idea. I would ask, let me, you know what, Roman, I want you to do me a favor because I do have lots of real estate friends that are in over on that side of the pond. And I would love to answer your question. So just email me at info@kristinasmallhorn.com. Email me your question so I can get you connected with people that can help you with a better answer. Because I'd be freaking lying, and I'm not a I'm not a person that's going to just sit there and start spilling out words just to say stuff. You know? Some people will do that. Christine will not. No, Christine is not going to do that. QC is much easier if you build the pieces of the house in a factory. Yes, 100%. You can get a house put together modularly in a day. I mean, if you wanted a simple 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, they could have that done in 2 hours. I mean, I'm not talking about the plumbing and everything, but the house itself structurally would be put together in just a few hours, done. They just drill the sucker right in. It's no different than Legos. Now there's another building company that is building homes much like you would do Legos. Like they literally are making blocks like Legos where you just stack them in and they click together. And they built a 2-story house in 2 days with those bricks. Will they ever come to market? I don't know. A lot of these products I've noticed they have a really good concept, but if for some reason they never make it past that threshold to get onto the open market. And I should say I do know the reason, because what happens is that once it looks like they're about to really take over the construction world, a big company, a big larger company, a big land development company comes in, swoops in and buys it up, and all of a sudden it just disappears like it never existed. And that's happened quite a bit. There was a huge modular home company in California, and that's what happened to them. Yep, they got bought right up and then disappeared, dissolved. Because we don't want to make housing affordable. That would be terrible. God. Question: I have 2 acres of an unimproved lot. I was thinking about a manufactured home because it's cheaper. Is there a way to tie down a home so it's considered a traditional home? If your home has been built, if it's a manufactured home and has been built in a factory and it's built to HUD standards, it will always be a manufactured home. Whether it's put on a foundation, whether it's like tied down, it doesn't matter. If it's on stilts, it does not matter. If the certification at the time that it was built is a manufactured home, it will always be a manufactured home. You can't like retrofit it to make it now a traditional home. I know sometimes people will try to do that. They've even do that here. They'll like cut out a little section and then they'll put attaching a house to it, and they're like, now it's a house. And they're like, no, it's a house and a manufactured home attached to it. You can cause yourself some problems when you do stuff like that too. If you're trying to improve your manufactured home, because your insurance company is like, now you've degraded the integrity of the house itself, and they may not insure you. So be very careful about doing something like that, especially when you're adding additions to it. I've seen that happen here in Louisiana quite a bit. There was some lady that this was funny to me. She had a manufactured home. She didn't want it to look like a manufactured home, so she bricked the whole entire thing. She bricked it, so it looked just like a ranch style house. But when they went to go sell it, like you're walking up the stairs and you're like, this is a manufactured home. Oh no, it was my grandma's house. But the thing is, as soon as you walk in, you know when it's a manufactured home, especially with how old it was. That thing was built in like 1982. And so we were able to find the paperwork. So if you are unsure if you're in a house that's a manufactured home, there's 2 places I want you to check. Not just the back, where the plate is. I want you to go into where they have all the circuit breakers. Open that door and look there. It will have all the information there. It may not have it there, but it might have a sticker right next to it. If you can't find it there, go into the kitchen cabinets. And on one of the kitchen cabinets, usually the one that's under the sink, there is a like taped sticker there that lets you know all the manufactured home specs on it, basically. And the insurance companies always like a copy of that, and so do the lenders. So never rip that off, by the way, if you live in one. Never rip it off. Ever, ever, ever. they call it the plate, but it's not actually a plate. It's just a sticker. Sticker. Got another question for me, Eduardo? Here we go. Byron Thomas has another question and says, in regards to what you said about generational wealth through real estate, are you talking about the house one lives in, or as using as generational wealth, or owning houses to rent? Both. Because, like, look, let's just say you rented for 30 years, right? 30 years. Now you take that same person and they owned a house for 30 years. Now you're sick. The person that rented a house has nothing to lean on, no equity in their life to lean on. They've gotten sick and they have no extra money, right? But the person that owned for 30 years has a fully paid off mortgage. The only thing they're paying on is their home insurance and their taxes. Now they have equity in a house that they can lean on. That is wealth. And if they die, years down the road, who are they sending that to? Who are they going to give that house to? Family members. Generations to come will own that house, and they can do what they want with it. They can go ahead and sell it and take that money and put it in the stock market, or they can keep it as a second home. And it is generational. That's what I'm talking about. But you can also do that with rental homes. You can take the equity. Out of that house that you've invested for 30 years, and you can buy your next second house and rent it out. And then if you were to pass on, you can give that to your relatives. Question. I'm trying to read. Hold on. Question. I have 2 acres of an unimproved land. I was thinking about a man. Oh, Eddie, I already answered this question. You already put it up on the screen. He forgot. You know what? It's probably the cat. We have this new kitten. Unfortunately, our first kitten had passed away. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. I didn't share it on the channel, but he passed away. He had this weird kidney problem. And our new kitten that we got is a very healthy, very vivacious, very spunky kitten. And he's run all over places. He's already ripped the curtains off of one of our daughter's walls. It's like, oh my gosh, the last kitten was so calm, but we didn't know he was sick. So anyways, question. Have you ever discussed San Antonio and other areas of Austin shadow as regards to real estate? Some areas are booming or others are busting. New schools built in North San Antonio, old ones close to South San Antonio. I don't really specifically talk about San Antonio. I talk about the housing market as a whole. If I have a guest on the show, I usually talk about their housing market in relation to the headlines that are being posted today. I do know somebody in San Antonio. If you'd like me to have them on here on the show, I could do that. I also have some friends in Austin. So Beta Juan, go ahead and let me know if you want somebody in San Antonio to come out here and talk about their specific housing market. Because it's very true. Even like, for instance, New Orleans, you can have one area of New Orleans that is booming on fire. And you could literally walk 10 streets over and it's like that place isn't doing well at all. It's just, it's always every market, every single house market, I don't care where you are, always is going to have areas that boom and bust. There's always a micro market within the market. You can't take the whole city of Atlanta as a whole and say it relates to the neighborhood that you want to live in. You can make a good educated guess. You can have some numbers and pull them together, but there's so many different factors that come into what's happening in an area, in a town. Are the people losing jobs in that town? Is the area still growing, or are they leaving the area? Has the crime rate increased? Has it decreased? I mean, all these factors matter, right? In every single town. So you have to put that in perspective, always in perspective. Even in my area, Eddie and I were just talking about this today, even in my area, like where we are right here, this area has been doing fantastic. You go over the Sunshine Bridge, that area doesn't do so good. No, it really doesn't. It doesn't do well at all. And I didn't realize, you guys, I did not realize I live in Cancer Alley in Louisiana. I live in Cancer. I didn't know that was even a thing. And I looked that up and I almost wanted to vomit. I'm like, I've been raising my kids here. Thank God they don't fish and eat like that stuff. Man, I had no idea. like I'm a real estate agent. I thought that was more towards New Orleans. I didn't know it was like right over top of us. I mean, it's some distance away from us, but it's close enough, you know, a high breeze on a summer afternoon. That's blowing right in my backyard. That didn't make me feel good this morning. That didn't make me feel good. Go ahead and put up the next question if you could, if there is any questions. Mia's mommy. Hello, nice to see you again. Can you explain to us about the adding contingencies into the contracts, specifically when it comes to selling your current home before the purchasing a new one? So you want to do if you have your house for sale, I wouldn't suggest putting an offer on another house until that house that you're currently working with is under contract and has made it through the inspection period. That's just for your own safety, right? Because after they've made it through the inspection period, they can't back out of it. That's how it works in Louisiana. I mean, go ahead and check with your real estate agent. And then I would go and put in an offer on your next house, but always have it contingent on the sale of your property, because you don't want to be stuck if these people back out having to buy that house and you can't afford to. Now, if you have a ton of equity in your previous house, you can do something called a bridge loan. And if you're not nervous about selling that previous home, that's always an option for you. But always check with your lender first to see if you qualify for something like that. It's something to look into, especially if you really want another house and it isn't in a hot area that sells very quickly. It is something you could look into. But for me, I'm a scaredy cat. I get so scared. I wait. I'm like, okay, this house is under contract. I'm not signing anything until they've gone through that inspection period. Then I'll make a decision. Then I'll go look for houses once they've gone through that inspection period. I might even go look, but I'm not putting any contracts in until I know that they're locked and loaded. They can't go anywhere unless he loses a job. So, Monique says, what kind of land do you need for a manufactured home? So it has to be zoned residential and it has to be approved for a manufactured home. Believe it or not, many areas across the United States, they have rulings against manufactured homes, or they have a manufactured home, like you only can have it only can be like a double wide. It can't be a single wide. You have to like find out what their local zoning rules are for manufactured homes, but it has to be approved for a manufactured home. Here in Louisiana, our MLS, we actually check a box off. We check a box off to let you know, like, if it's available for a manufactured home or if it's not. And in our area, it has to be, if you're going to buy a piece of land for it, it has to be an acre of land. You can't just put, even on a half acre, you can't put a manufactured home. It has to be an acre. So that's what you do. Minnie's Art Studio said, please explain what Cancer Alley means. What's causing it besides chemicals in our food and water? Okay, so I live in an area that has a ton of plants. Matter of fact, our school system, the reason why we have we have one of the best school systems in the United States, up there, not in the United States. I should say in Louisiana, not in the United States. I roll that back. But it's one of the better ones in Louisiana, is because of the chemical companies that have bought land here, set up businesses, and their contribution is to our school system. So, I mean, we always are getting new schools, new computers, all sorts of stuff because they invest in it. Well, they're also dumping in a lot of toxic air in over by where I was showing Eddie. They have these red plumes of retention ponds. They look like red ponds, and they're just filled with chemicals. This was the article I was reading. Yep, there it is. Look at that. Look at all those. And then what was it? Jefferson? Was it Jefferson Parish, Eddie? Yeah, Jefferson Parish. It's like 1 in 4 people get cancer. 1 in 4 people get cancer living in
St. James.
St. James. So thank you. St. James Parish. Thank you. But yeah, look, Geisimer, look, there's Shell Chemical, there's St. Gabriel, BCP Ingredients, the Reserve, Union Carbine. I mean, like, look, this is Dow Chemicals right there. Yeah. And there's times, I'm not joking. There are times that when you walk outside, it smells like burnt hair. The wind has shifted. And I was like, God, it stinks outside. And I just thought it just stunk. I didn't realize it's because they're, going to make us glow in the dark next week. Bless your heart, born and raised NOLA. And I had never heard about Cancer Alley until this year. Isn't this crazy? Yeah. Why has this not been a thing? Why has this not been why have we not been informed of this? This is crazy. Beta One says yes. Get a SA expert on the show. Yeah. Okay. I can do that. San Antonio expert. Market prices are all over the place. Yeah. And I mean, I would love to break it down to figure out what's going on in specific areas to why one area is still increasing and the other area isn't. I know a couple people out there. I'm going to see if we can get Tim Macy on here. Esther says, can building a home on stilts lower flood costs in Louisiana, like for beach houses and sometimes DIY type shows? Yes, it can. Because you're building above the floodplain. Yes, it can increase. As a matter of fact, after we had the 2016 floods here in Louisiana, it was devastating. And a lot of people, that's exactly what they did, was their house that used to be on a slab, they were like, forget it, we're not going through this again. And they put it on stilts so they don't have to deal with it again. And it did drop their flood insurance quite a bit. All right. This is for people that are on the live stream. This is going to be the weirdest question. What color is my shirt? What color is my shirt? This freaked me out. Travis Modison says, Modson, said, Kristina, do you think rates are coming down and the market is going to explode again? I think rates are going to be remaining flat for a little while because they have, I don't know if you saw good old Jerome Powell. He's like, yeah, about that raising rate thing. We're going to I know we're trying to tamper down inflation and everything, but we just don't really want the markets to reflect and react the way that they have. They freaked out with all those little, those crypto bro banks that they had to bail out just recently. They don't want to rock the boat too much. So they're going to be doing some increases, mild increases in the inflation rate. So whenever that happens, that means that the mortgage interest rates kind of remain flat. So I still think we're going to have a busy season when it comes to the most affordable homes. I think the people that are going to get the biggest hit, which I've been saying for months, were the people that have the more larger homes. They're going to be in more of a situation where they're going to have to take a reduction in order to unload it, especially with interest rates being as high as they are. White. That's what I thought, right? White. This shirt is blue. It's freaking, I know it's like that. You remember that dress years ago? Remember that dress? It is I don't know how to, this shirt freaked me out. It's blue. See how, isn't that wild? It's a light blue. It looks white. When I turned on the camera, I'm like, my shirt is, I thought I would put on a blue shirt. It is a blue shirt. You just can't tell in this light. Wild, huh? Lighting. I would say white, but all the shiny colors and everything. Yep. That is, no, it's blue. I know, it's one of those things. It's blue. It's a gray blue. Correct. It is a gray blue. Yeah, it's like the blue behind me. I know that was wild. Totally off the real estate subject, but I couldn't get off of it because I kept looking at this. I'm like, I have a blue shirt on. Everyone's going to think I have a white shirt on. It's grayish. My color in my house is by Sherwin-Williams is called grayish. I love that color. And I've had it in my house before the gray boom that everybody started painting their house white and gray. I painted my house. Well, how many years ago was that that we lived in Florida? Well, 18, 19 years ago. The first color I was like, ooh, I just love this color. It was grayish 17 years ago. It's a white blue. Yeah, it is a white blue. Isn't that considered light blue? White blue. Yeah. Yeah. If you guys haven't yet, make sure that you check out your insurance policies again. I mean, when I got hit by that tornado, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about insurance companies and what they go through. If you are a veteran and your insurance isn't with USAA, go check them out again and find out what the price is. You may be paying a little bit more, but I'm telling you, when something happens, that insurance company, That one right there is by far the best. Everybody I've ever known that's had a natural disaster happen to them, the ones that had USAA, best insurance ever, took care of them immediately, bought them food, everything, had adjusters out there immediately. There was no jerking you around at all. They went ahead and paid out. So definitely look into that, especially if you've been served before. Byron Thomas said, now people will be moving out of St. James Parish. It's been all over the news. Like, that the parish is a special home for me. Oh, but Byron, okay, so I don't know if you know who Philip DeFranco is. Towards the back end of his show that he had today, he was talking about it. That's the only reason I even knew about it. I was like, oh my gosh, Eddie, did you know this? You're like, yeah, it's called Cancer Alley. I'm like, I pulled that article up, the one that he showed on the screen. Now, I'm telling you, go check it out. Like, I think the only time that I would want to go back is if I'm getting buried there. Jefferson Parish isn't much better, unfortunately, right now is Norco. Yeah, I don't think any of these chemical plants have been looking out for the people of Louisiana. Everything's about $1. Corporations have never been our friends. They just, we just didn't hear about it or talk about it as much as we do now because we have the availability of information like we've never had before. So we all get to talk to one another. Like, I don't know if Byron wouldn't know me if he fell across me across the street. He wouldn't know me. We wouldn't have these conversations. But because of the internet, we are able to talk to one another like we never have before. And so, it's always been this way. We're just being able to I always compare it to the Dorothy going to Wizard of Oz and pulling back the curtain and seeing the little man making the loud noises. That's what we're finding out. These big corporations are just little men behind curtains trying to make a whole lot of money off the backs of people that they shouldn't be, and the more poor the area, the worse they treat the people that live there. The more they dump the chemicals, the more they ignore them because they know they can get away with it because who's going to listen? Nobody will listen. But now we have the internet. Everybody can listen. Everybody hears this. It's disgusting what they do. Are rural farmstead properties beating the market drop? Yeah, farm properties are still doing good. Rural areas have not been affected like the major cities like Austin, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, a bunch of areas around California. I know that in Seattle, though, they're still going up. There's places around Oregon that are going up and some of them are coming down. My friend that's over there in the chat, I was showing him, there's a guy that's like, oh, look at all these houses dropping in price, but he's in a completely different area. And sure enough, it's in an area that is the most expensive area around Oregon, right? So of course they're going to hit they hit the ceiling and they had to come down because it was too expensive, overinflated to begin with. Oh, question, is Tanya missing? I haven't seen her in a while. So Tanya, many of you may not know who she is. It was co-hosting with me here in my office here quite a bit. So her husband was working on a project here in Louisiana. So she just happened to be down here. And so she had called me on the phone. She's like, hey, I want to shadow you. I'm like, well, why don't you just be a part of my live streams? So she came down here and would be a part of the live streams. Her husband went back to Pittsburgh. So there hasn't been any reason for her to come down and just hang out with me to do a live stream. The only reason she was doing it is because she was here. Birds and flowers. Question. Family in North Carolina considering installing a solar for their house. No, there's no reliable crystal ball. Do you have any knowledge, Ari, any type of effect on future sale price? I'm going to give you my feedback on solar. And I know Eddie's going to be moving his head up and down behind me. When you put solar on your roof, the minute you put it on there, if you had any warranty on your roof, you have now let that warranty go right out the window. It's gone. If you are renting the solar equipment, when you go to resell your house, you have to count on the fact that the people that are purchasing your house want to rent that solar equipment as well. If not, you're going to have to pay for it. I do not believe at this time, the way that technology has moved, that solar is necessarily worth it, bang for the buck. You would have to be in an area that is expected to have solar panels on it in order for your home to sell, in order to make that money back. Most likely it's going to be a wash. If you wanted solar, it would be for you. It wouldn't be for the resale value of your home. It would be no different than putting in, in some areas like a pool in your backyard. If you lived in Florida, having a full pool in your backyard would make you a ton of money. Here in Louisiana, you would think having a pool in your backyard would add a lot of value to your house. It doesn't barely add diddly squat. People don't want pools here. You just have to be very cognizant of the area. So I would speak to a local real estate agent in that area so they could tell you if that would increase in value. I personally, we were looking at solar panels. I would not do it. The maintenance to keep them up, the fact that it goes against your warranty on your roof. If you have like a natural disaster like a tornado that came through, you're going to have a brand new roof put on there. You're going to have the solar panels put back on there. So that brand new roof that you just got put on there after a tornado, that warranty's gone because you put the solar panels back on there. Just be very careful if you're going to do something like that. We opted, when we weighed out the pros and cons, we ended up just getting a whole house generator. So if anything was to happen, we had the whole house generator. But yeah. And then don't fall for the thing where they say the government will give you money to give you solar panels on your house. Don't fall for that. Don't fall for that, because that happened here in Louisiana, and a lot of people ended up footing a lot of the bill because there were so many companies saying, oh yeah, just fill out these forms and the government will give you money. And guess what? The money ran dry really, really fast. And these people were ending up having to buy very expensive systems, but they were told and they were sold on the fact that they were going to get half of it covered under the federal plan, which the money ran out. So be very cognizant of that. Cheryl Campbell. Hello, Cheryl. On a finance video, they said Carl Schwab said, don't buy a home for 6 months. This was last week. Okay, Carl Schwab. Okay. I don't know how he can like pull out of a magic hat. Like, this is if you have cash, what does it matter? Like, I don't know. All these people, like, I'm going to give you a perfect example. Susie Ormond, at the beginning of the pandemic, said everybody's home values were going to go down 50%. She posted this with full confidence, said it with her whole chest. And she said, so now that their house is going to be reduced 50%, your house is now worth 50% less. One house being sold 50% less than the housing market does not make every house in that neighborhood come down 50%. It takes several houses selling at that. And the fact that she came out with this with such confidence, and was just so dead wrong and never corrected herself. She just kept walking and collecting those checks. I had people on this show telling me the whole stock market was going to fall apart at the end of 2022. Did the whole stock market fall apart? Here we are into March. It's had some ups and downs just like it always has. But we did not see like a big giant crash. Now, did the crypto bros get hit? Heck yeah, they did. But it was fake money to begin with. Yep. For USA, either you or a direct family member has to have served in the military. Like your mom or your dad, they have had to served in the military in order for you to get that. Yep. Bless Your Heart says, question, in LA having the same problem with insurance companies pulling out like Florida? We are not currently. I will say that State Farm was probably the most expensive, and they kept increasing their rates to the point where they're here, but you don't want to use them because it's too expensive. We even had the problem like Florida has. And I think the Florida's problem was made worse because they had hurricane after hurricane after hurricane that came through. I think that's what caused the biggest issue. We have so much flooding here, and that's a totally different policy. So that doesn't go under like the traditional homeowners policy, right? So you could have your State Farm policy here. Sure, you get a hurricane and a tornado, but if it floods, the minute it floods, the insurance company goes, not our problem, it's on flood insurance. Nope, not our problem, it's flood insurance. They do that every single time. Here we go. Eddie got another question there. Yeah, Dorothy has a question. Would I look for a realtor to help me find land for a park model home? Are you looking to live in a manufactured home park, or are you looking to rent a piece of land? Like, I need to understand, like, if you're just, and I want to tell you this too, Dorothy. This is what I'm going to tell you to do. I want you to go to my website, KristinaSmallhorn.com, and go and fill out one of the referral forms, but make sure you put your phone number and your email address, and I'll answer your questions that you have, that question that you have, and I'll get you connected with somebody. Because you may not be able to park your park model home on a lot because it's so incredibly small. And sometimes because those park model homes are certified RV, even if it was big enough, they may say no because it's an RV and not a house. So you're going to have to be very careful. Yeah, just go to my website, KristinaSmallhorn.com, and fill out one of those referral forms, and I'll give you a little ringy dingy. I'm answering calls tomorrow too, by the way. If anybody's wanting to get a hold of me, just go over there. I'll answer you tomorrow. Yeah, Debbie Brady went ahead and put that in the chat, so you can just click on the link. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate you. All right. Awesome, Dorothy. I appreciate you. All right. Next week is Easter Sunday. I'm going to be spending time with my family. I'm going to take a little day off, get some Easter eggs, and then I'm going back to the grind. I'm going to be releasing video content once again. So you'll be getting your videos on Tuesday, and then I'll always be doing our live stream podcasts here every single Sunday. If there's a topic that you want us to talk about, let me know. I know that I'm going to go ahead and reach out to Tim Macy, see if he wants to come in here and talk about the San Antonio market. We're going to do that. But anything else you want to talk about, let me know. You can always email me at info@KristinaSmallhorn.com. I want to say thank you to all the moderators in the chat that always spend their weekend Sunday afternoon with us and making sure the chat stays nice and cleaned up and not too crazy. And I also want to say thank you to our super chatters today. That all those super chats help support the channel with new cameras and lighting and microphones. And I appreciate you. I really do. Thank you so much. Everybody, I hope you have a fantastic, wonderful Easter. Spend time with your family. Have a few Easter bunnies. Enjoy your time. And I hope the day is just absolutely beautiful. Yep. There's my website. There it is with my feet in the air. My kids always laugh at me. Why is your feet in the air, Mom? And people are going to go crazy. There's people that go crazy over the feet. They freak out for me. They're scared. Yep. So anyways, all right, my friends, have a great weekend. So long. Farewell. Goodbye. And he's showing you the podcast. Yes, we are on all the podcasting. So I think I'm gonna dress up. I think I'm gonna get myself a little Park the Realtor. Go ahead and email me. I think we're gonna have you on the show right now. You're out here every week. I think you deserve to be out here. Not the voice. Yeah. My blue shirt. The shirt is blue, y'all. Oh, look at the little white. This shirt is blue. It's not white.